So, we have the wonderful Olga here. Olga has a really interesting story. We're going to get to that in a second, right? But the cool thing about this story, and specifically you, Olga, is I love entrepreneurial journeys that start with a personal problem. Spoiler alert. So that's the hook. Stay in for that one. Olga, so you're finishing entrepreneurship for your masters, and you haven't started a company yet, right? You hadn't had the idea for what Kiara Women is at this time.
No.
Tell me how you discovered that problem, and then how you developed it.
Yeah, so after doing my masters, I just went on living a normal life, but I did start working with startups as a freelance, more on the business development side stuff. So quite interesting, and I've been, of course, a lot speaking with a lot of companies, a lot of founders, looking at a lot of solutions, and then at one point in all this, I figured, I remember I was having my menstruation, and I was not feeling well. It was something very typical for me. Every month I would not feel well during my menstruation, during my period, and I was feeling quite bad cramps and everything. And I was like, why are there so many startups that are targeting men with so many solutions that I don't feel like they're a necessity, they're more like a cool thing, and I don't see that much for women. So I was like, there must be something, right? Because there are startups all over the place. So let's check it out. And I started looking, and there's nothing, and there was nothing I could find to make me feel better at this point. I was like, okay, this is crazy, and yeah, something must change. So at this point, that's when the idea was the first born in my head. And I started thinking, investigating, researching, looking what can be done, what's going on, and I realized that in the space, indeed, there's not much going on. Little things are starting to pop out everywhere, but it's still it's still very niche, it's still very small.
The funny thing is, it's not niche, it's not small. Half the
planet
suffers from these problems, right?
Course, yeah.
I know, but I love that you said that, because also I feel, I read a report, and don't quote me on the figures here, right? Because I've forgotten the numbers exactly, but it was the most amazing figure, slap in the face realization, because it was this female entrepreneur talking about, I forget the product, I'll figure it out. I'll put it in the comments, I'll figure it out. But she basically said, there are, of all the research that goes into sort of men's and women's health from sort of the natural processes. So from women, menstruation, obviously that's something that happens to half the planet once a month. Not half the planet, of course, it's age dependent, of course. Forgive me again, facts and figures. Not obviously not the man talking about it here, I get it. But you catch my drift, right? Those that are of age around the world, obviously, half of them have that for a period of their lives. So there was a study done of the amount of funding that goes into men's impotence and premature ejaculation and all these types of things that men suffer with, which is only 20% of the population of men of the age suffer from that, right? Which is of course a problem and a psychological issue as well. But then the difference was, the disparity was, I think it was something like there was 20 times more funding going into solving men's problems that only affect a lot lower percentage of men versus women going through such things like this. And there was literally 20 times less funding available to solutions which are 6 to 7 times bigger in terms of market size, potential value. If you want to look at it from a shrewd perspective, where's the money? You look at this and you go, the money's actually with this problem, not men not being, coming too soon. Anyway,
no, it was crazy.
We told you this would be a graphic conversation. Anyway, but it needs to be had. Right, these are taboo conversations. But
it is. I mean, and it's still so taboo. I mean, it's exactly that. I started in this process of research and getting to the business. I started talking with women. I spoke with, I don't know, just around 200 women. Just one-on-one conversations. How is this for you? And it's crazy. It's still so taboo. You may think that, hey, we're in the 21st century and nothing is taboo right now, and we have all this diversity everywhere, and no, it is. I mean, it's crazy. And most of the women were saying, hey, well, I don't feel confident enough. That was for me, that was a discovery. I don't feel confident when I'm buying pads or tampons in the supermarket. I don't like people seeing me doing that. I don't like speaking, or I don't speak with my boyfriend about it. So I'm like, it's such a huge thing. And then, of course, you have the women who are doing fine and they don't have specific like menstrual issues or like health issues. And then you have so many women who do. And this for me was absolutely shocking because, of course, if people don't speak about it, it doesn't exist, as always. So it feels like these problems are non-existent. You feel like, hey, I'm probably alone in this. I'm probably the only one who feels like shitty about myself during these days, And then you discover that it's not true, and that most of the women, in fact, do, and it's a real problem, It's a real pain that exists. So anyway, this was like a long process, and I was still working in the startups, and I was thinking about it, and like the idea was growing on me, and I was in a quite a difficult relationship at the time, and then at a certain point I left and I had to like clear my mind, so I left. I went to China and then to India, and I spent there several months.
Wow.
It was more or less like doing yoga and basically, clearing my head and just thinking what I want to do next. Yeah. And I realized that, hey, I want to go to Barcelona again, and I want to start this company. I want to work on this problem, and I want to find a solution for it. And here I am. I came to Barcelona. I started working on this. And 1.5 years ago or so, I founded Kiara.
So, I mean, amazing. Amazing journey, amazing story. And the things I love about that really are just, again, that it comes out of necessity, right? You had a problem and you created a solution for it. And again, also you took your time with it as well. You didn't rush straight into it. And I think there's also, in the industry of entrepreneurship, at least in the early stage, I think there's a lot of sense of urgency. A lot of people think that their idea needs to be done right now or it'll disappear. Not true. Especially if you're and if it is true, then you might not be the right person to do it because if you think you're going to be outcompeted or whatever, right? So in your case, year and a half ago, right? So you come back from your travels and you realize, you know what, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to create. Obviously, did you have a name at the time?
No, well, I mean, it came to me a little after, but it was actually a different name. It was Aura in the beginning.
Aura.
Yeah, it was not a very good name. And I mean, I loved it personally, but it didn't work on the marketing level. So actually, we changed not that long ago. We changed this year.
Why is it Kiara Women?
Because we wanted a female name, and we went out there brainstorming, and we were looking for a name, and Kiara was just, resonated, in a way, and it was actually me and a girl who I was working with, and we were like both like, we came together after brainstorming on our own, and we came together and we're like, I had this Kiara name in my mind. Oh, me too. And it was quite, quite significant at that point, and we were like, yeah, Kiara makes sense, and I was like, yeah, Kiara with a K looks good, and just things came together. Yeah,
so take me back to a year and a half ago. You come back, you decide to do it. Did you have a co-founder? Did you look for one? What was your steps? Like, talk me through the steps and a little bit of the journey, so from trying to find a co-founder, creating the first product. Right. Did you hire people? Did you raise money? Yeah. And up to where we are today? Actually,
let me just go several months back because I did miss this thing, and I think it's quite a relevant step. Basically, right, several months before that, when I was already when the idea of the business was shaping in my mind, and I was like, yeah, I would really love to do this. I realized that to be able to do such a project, I would need to learn some tech stuff. Because, of course, I had some digital tech knowledge, but, as a normal consumer mostly. And so I realized that from working in other startups, like, you always have the issue and, like, the gap between the business people and the tech people. Like, the programmers and the business guys, they never communicate well. There are always issues. You end up paying a ton of money. Things still don't work. And it's such a hassle to find a proper person to do it for you. So it's like incredible, And so at this point I was like, okay, so I should definitely learn coding. And it's something that I really like math, and I really like, all this type of things. So I was like, yeah, should do that. And I was looking for a program, and I went into a coding bootcamp here in Spain for 3 months. I was doing Codeworks. Yeah, really cool. And I was doing nothing but sleeping, coding, eating a little bit. That's it. I mean, was coding like incredible amounts of time, 3 months just doing that, nothing else. And really intense, but so cool. And in the end, you end up knowing how to code. And I had the ability to go for a developer job if I wanted. Wasn't my idea, of course, but it's, well, really, really nice. I mean, it really surprised me, and I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to do that much. And then I could, you know. So really nice. And for me, that was essential because I knew that I wouldn't depend on developers anymore. I didn't need a CTO. I mean, you really rarely need a CTO in a digital company.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do, but carry on.
Yeah, I mean,
depends what you're doing.
Of course, yeah. But in such type of business where it's not like the core is not the technology, no. You don't really need a CTO, right? No, and for me, that was the key. Like, hey, I was liberated of that, so I had the freedom to, you know, and I was never going to be like the person who would program everything and stuff, but I had the ability to, you know, fix stuff, and so that was really powerful. Anyway, so that was then, and afterwards, when I actually founded the project, the company, I started developing an MVP. And started looking, okay, how to shape the product. I was looking for a co-founder. I was not certain that I needed a co-founder, but I started looking for one, and I thought, if there is a person who is a match, then it probably is a good match, and let's go for it. But if there's not, then I won't force it, you know. And I didn't find such a person. Like, for me, I did not. So I was like, that's going to be a tough one, but let's go for it on my own. Like, I'm going to be fine. And here I am. I'm a solo founder, and
is it tough?
It is. I mean, you have better days and you have worse days, like all the time.
And the worst part of it is you're the one who's to deal with the good and the bad.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And there's not a shoulder that I can cry on, you know. Yeah. And there's like on the bad days, I'm still like, yeah, I'm just with myself, like eating my own head, like, you know, like.
Would you recommend solo entrepreneurship, or would you say find a co-founder?
I think it depends, and I mean, I still think that for me it was a good decision. Like, you know, I don't regret it, and I still think that, like, if at some point I feel like, hey, now I do need a co-founder, I can still get one, right? So I think it depends on the case mostly, and if there's, I would say, for me the answer was like, if there is something, an asset that you really need and it's essential to your business, and you cannot cover that, and you cannot pay for that, find a co-founder. Otherwise, you can either outsource it to a freelance or an agency or whatever, or do it yourself. And for me, it was that second case. There was not something that I was like, I need this asset in my company, otherwise we're not going anywhere. I didn't find myself in that situation, so I was like, okay, let's go for it, like on my own. So it depends, and then of course it also depends on the person. Like, there are some people who can take this journey alone. I'm also quite an introvert, if you can say. Like, I'm okay with myself. Like, I've been okay with myself, like living for almost more than 4 months in India on my own, you know. And I was like, you know, this meditative state, and I'm good with myself. But there are also people who work much better in a team and who work much better with a different person, and, you know, they're much more productive. So it also depends on several things, I guess. For me, I still think it's a good decision. And then again, it's so complex, like being co-founders, I mean, it's like a marriage in the end. So either you have a perfect person who matches like mentally and like, you know, the values and everything, or you shouldn't do that.
You don't find a co-founder, you realize you don't need one, so you continue going on, right? You build the early MVP of the product, which is a website with a blog and things like that. What is the sole purpose of Kiara Women? Like, what are you guys trying to achieve, and what do you do?
Yeah. So the objective from day one was to educate women and give them the knowledge and the tools to take care of their female health. So that's like the two things, right? So like the knowledge to get to know what's going on in your body, like if there are some troubles, some issues, understand that, you know, provide knowledge, provide education, basically, you know, female health education, and then on the other hand, give some tools in order to take care of it, to improve that and to feel better, which is in the end for me, that was like my thing, that I was like, I need to feel better, you know, so let's see how this can be done. And that was like the sole purpose from the beginning, and I was figuring the best way to do it. And at the beginning, actually, the company was a bit different than it is now. So at the beginning, we started with subscription boxes. So there were boxes for the period, and there were different like types of boxes depending on how your period goes. Like if you have cramps or if you have this and that.
So this is a monthly subscription service, right? Where a box would arrive on your doorstep. You pay, how much would you pay? Like €30 a month or something?
Yeah,
or
less. €20.
Cool, which is similar to like Birchbox in the US, which did a sort of subscription-based beauty service. And there's a really good one in London called Wine Butler, subscription wine service. You know, this is very popular. VCs like this, investors like this, because obviously it's a subscription service. You have people paying over a monthly basis over a year plus, right? And in that box was what?
So we changed several times. At the beginning, it was just products, you know, like the premise was make your period a ritual. So basically it was that like you had some teas that would relieve the cramps, you would have some essential oils that would also do that, like bath salts, you know, so stuff that really, you know, makes the period a ritual, right?
Celebrate it as opposed to
exactly, and just, you know, have some time for yourself, enjoy it, and, you know, make yourself feel better. So that's the idea, right? And also we would have like a leaflet with information, with education on the menstrual health, and the content would change from month to month. So yeah, it was really cool. And I mean, later on we also added some hygiene products inside, so like ecological tampons and pads, like different configurations as well. And yeah, so that was working, but it was really hard to get clients. So like the customer acquisition was really tough. Then when the person was in, they loved it and they stayed, just stayed, you know, and it was amazing. And the people were like sending us messages like from the very beginning, like, oh my God, I love this. I needed this all my life. But then again, to acquire customers was really tough.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we had a lot of like people coming in with doubts about like specific female health issues, like, you know. So little by little we were like trying new things, shifting a little bit, you know, seeing how can we shape this in a better way that it brings more value to the people, you know.
And that's, pause that for a second, that's part of the startup journey, right? You know, it's to listen to your customers, to understand what they need, what they require, what they do and don't like, right? Ultimately, you don't want to serve them something you think they need. You want to serve them something that they know they want, or they don't know they want, but you know they want, because you've asked enough of them to realize that this is what you should deliver to. So you did that. That's really good. I mean, that's good to hear. You use that direct monthly based feedback. How did you get the feedback? Did you send questionnaires, or did you directly call people, or how did you do that?
Both, yeah. Just, you know, speaking with people, and even like in the beginning, I mean, when you're in a small company, like you do everything yourself, up to a point where most of the like subscription boxes, at some point I was delivering them myself, right? So just we were just focusing on Barcelona, so the growth would be like, you know, easier because of the word of mouth and everything. So we were focusing here, and I would just grab my car, grab the subscription boxes, and go and deliver them. So and people recognized me, of course.
So you were literally delivering them door to door yourself at the beginning.
At the beginning, like the first couple months, that was the thing, and I mean, I didn't only do it to save costs, because that was part of the reason, but the other one was like, I want to see who my customers are, and I want to see who those women are who are buying these boxes, and I saw them, and I was many times surprised. Like,
what were you surprised by?
Because there were so different women. Like I could arrive at a really poor neighborhood, and a really girl who works at a, you know, some small supermarket, like, you know, has like three children, like, you know, really doesn't have much money, but she does buy the box, you know, and for her it's like it meant a lot, like, you know, so that was really touching. And then
because it's not a luxury product, it's an essential product.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you really, like, you know, it's an essential need that you go through every month. So of course, it's and for her it was an experience. And then at some point, she, for example, that her story, right? She didn't continue with the subscription after 5 months of paying or so, because she wrote me a personal message like saying, hey, I really love this, but I really can't do it anymore because I, like, you know, I have bills to pay and everything, and I just, you know. And it's so touching, you know. And then on the other hand, I had girls really from like top-end neighborhoods, like really, you know, and for them it was also a thing. It was really also a product that they were taking care of themselves, you know. So it's like such a universal thing, and that really surprised me.
We're midway through the startup journey right now, right? So you have gone door to door delivering your own subscription boxes to know your customers, and you were amazed at the fact that your customers were so diverse, right? From rich to poor. This could be seen as a luxury product just because it's a luxury service, but it's an essential product. And you had some competitors. What happened with your competitors?
Yeah, they were there. They started, I think, in Madrid. My Veggie, but they were really a nice team, though. I mean, I was not convinced that the name was the best for this matter. But then again, they were a nice team, and I was watching what they did, and they were on a nice journey. I mean, still, it's also, I have to also acknowledge that we had a very different approach, but then as well, it's such an undiscovered space. You don't have really a benchmark. You don't really have the best practices to go for. So they were with a different approach, and I still think that it's a lot of merit to do what they did. And so but eventually they closed the project. I knew who the founders were, and I found the contacts of one of the founders online, and I called her. And
you called your competitor who just failed. Yeah. What'd you ask her?
Yeah, I did that.
You didn't go, ha ha ha. No, you asked. What did you ask her?
No, I was like, hey, I explained her who I am, what am I doing, and I'm like, so sorry about what happened to you. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions? She was like, yeah, of course. She was super open, super nice. Of course, I don't have anything to lose, so of course I will tell you, if there's anything I can help. So super nice girl. Thank her a lot. And she just.
That's great. It's cool. Not many people will do that. I just wanted to pause on that for a second. That's a really good piece of advice. That the famous saying, keep your friends close, but you'll keep your enemies closer. Right. But that's so relevant in the startup industry, because you don't know what will happen down the line. For example, in this case, they close, you call them, and you get great advice from them, right? Their lessons and learnings why it failed. They could have warned you about something, for example, right? Vice versa, you can also even hire them. You could maybe even say, I want to buy your product. So actually knowing your competitors, I've done that with my former startup. I knew my 3 competitors really well, actually. And I actually almost at one point thought about setting up a little, every couple of months we'd have a little conference call and talk about our problems. Because, we were all in different markets. We were the same product in, one was in Germany, I was in the Nordics, the other one was in the UK, and there was one other which was in Germany actually as well. But we were competitors anyway. Yeah. And I thought about that when I was friends with them. I knew them, and so I always thought that if I ever got into a really sticky position, I would call them and go, all right, do you want to buy our assets? Yeah. And I would have actually maybe had but because I had the relationship, then we're like, yeah, Matt, we can, that's great for us, and we'll be able to buy something for cheap, and you'll be able to get something out of Fortunately, it never came to that for any of us. They're all still operating, and they're great people, and I sold my company. So anyway. Olga, right, so you've spoken to your competitor, you've got the information there, and then give me some, to round things off on where Kiara Women, a great name, I love that. Maybe Kiara one day, just take the woman out.
It's Kiara.
It's Kiara, yeah. It's Kiara. But just for the URL.
No, the website is Kiara Women, just
Kiara
because, because you can't have a
until you're making millions, you can buy it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love the name, Kiara. Where are you today? Give me some KPIs.
Yeah, right.
Where are you today?
So basically, from that point, we pivoted, and we pivoted this year, and
away from subscription boxes.
Away. They still exist, but not as a subscription. They're just like boxes, just like a single purchase. Yeah, but we did pivot away from that a little bit, and because of the needs that we've seen in the market. So and basically we went much more into education, and we also have an online menstrual store. So that's what we do. The education, we do that through online courses on female health, and then we have the ecological menstrual store, which basically has all those products that we handpick, for specific menstrual issues, and So
I'll link it in the comments, right? So check it out if you're a man, if you're a woman or a man. No, if you want to buy a gift for your partner, Maybe not for your mother or your sister, that might be weird. But maybe for your partner.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing about what we're doing is that I brought together a team of 15 experts, 15 health professionals, and gynecologists, dermatologists, psychologists, nutritionists, all these people who are, I think, they're essential to different issues that we talk about. So we did that in order to give to one single problem, to give it like a view of basically a complete view from different angles. So, if we're talking about polycystic ovary syndrome, it's one of our courses, for instance, such a frequent thing, like affects 1 to 2 women in every 10 women. So it's crazy. And we talk about it from the nutrition point of view, gynecology point of view, also like the psychology point of view, and also a personal trainer point of view, to close the circle and to be able to, bring all the information, because it's such a complex issue. So, stuff like that. And then we also do free events, and people just go crazy. It's amazing. And then the online courses are going really nice. Like we touched, something.
What are the courses about?
So right now we're having 3, and we're preparing 3 others that I'm not going to disclose right now. We're going to do a follow-up in that one.
Yes.
But the 3 that we have already one is on the polycystic ovary syndrome, very common, polycystic ovaries syndrome. Yeah, and for us, the problem is that these women, for instance, they go to medical professional normally, and the most common advice that they get is to take a pill.
Yeah, it's
birth control pill, right? So, and this is like in the 99% of the cases, that's what they're told. And basically, we have women coming in crying and saying, "Hey, I want to have kids, but I just got discovered this syndrome, and the gynecologist told me that I won't be able to have kids ever. Like, forget about it. Just take the pill, forget about kids, and live your life." And this is so wrong. Like, you can treat this syndrome, you can work with it, you can live a better life, you can have kids through natural process. But the pill seems like it's just the easy solution, for so many things. For this, for menstrual cramps, for so many other, like most of the female health issues, the pill seems to be the solution. But, well, anyway, that's so wrong. Then we have the second one, which is dedicated to menstrual cramps, girls who specifically have severe menstrual cramps. It allows you to go through understanding your pain, and also to go through several like practical routines and finding your way to deal with this pain and to eliminate it in most of the cases through natural processes, And then the third one is on the menstrual cycle and hormones. Okay. So basically for women who have also irregular cycles, and also who have a certain like disbalance on hormone-wise, So that's where we also talk like about like, okay, how does this work? Like, how do the hormones work for you to understand it? And then we go to the practical points, and there's basically from nutrition and all different points of view, how you can improve that, how you can go to become more regular, how you can balance the hormones. I mean, the hormones are essentially our health as women and as men. Like, hormones are the base, so that's...
What about the education of men? I'm not talking about men's sexual health or just health. I'm just talking about men's understanding of female hormonal health.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about making a little very short, like it can be very short and very simple, but explanatory, because I can only say that the only education I've ever been given on how a period works and menstruation is obviously the only time I ever had formal education on it when I was at 15, 16 years old at school, and we started talking about puberty, right? And it was literally based like woman bleeds for a week. I mean, I don't even know the facts and figures about it, but I know it happens, and that's part of it. And then obviously just through having girlfriends over the last decade, that I've learned because they've told me and I've understood and sympathized, but still. They are not as educated because obviously we've been missing Kiara Women. So maybe think about that one. All right, I'm going to wrap that up now. But Olga, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Check out Kiara Women if you want to make your menstruation a ritual. I love it.
Thank you very much, Matt. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you could describe Barcelona's tech scene in one word, how would you describe? I know it's a tough one, but...
Intriguing.
Intriguing. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not obvious. Like, it's not an obvious one. It's not like Berlin or London that everything is already there. Barcelona is still in the process. So it's like you have very interesting new things coming up all the time, but it's not there yet, and there's still so much to do, and you see like gaps and things like you want to put your hands on all the time. So it's like, and for me, it's like I'm waiting to see where it's going to end, So it's growing all the time, new companies, new programs, new whatever. And so intriguing would be pretty much the word for me.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did making it, because it was really fun to meet Olga and hear her startup journey. Because what I love about her startup journey is it was organic, right? She had a problem, she looked for a solution for it, couldn't find it, so she created it. And it just so happened to be that problem was something that is faced by half the world through a period of their life, right? It is such an enormous opportunity, huge market. Talk about market validation, right? And it's a taboo topic. That's why people don't tend to venture into that space. So, I ask you that question. Are there any taboo topics, ideas that you think you could create for problems that are just not spoken about? I'm starting to see recently a lot of interesting companies in the sex tech space. Previously, it had been a seedy space. People think sex toys and porn, but it's not. It's actually about sexual health. So, and that's actually a good exercise. If you're ever thinking about creating a company, look at your daily life, your day, your week, your month, and identify problems that you face consistently. And see if introducing some form of technology or applying something simple from another thing you've seen to that to see if you could make it better, make that experience easier for you. Because if you start with a problem that you face, it's highly likely that other people are facing the same problem, meaning that you might have just proven your market, right? You might actually have validated the need, the customer need for this kind of a product. So do that exercise if you're ever inspired by Olga's to learn about the startup journey. And another point from her is, she did this all on her own, right? She didn't have a co-founder. And there's positive and negatives around that. Some investors don't like to invest in single founders because if that person has any problems, burns out, struggles, they struggle alone, they burn out alone, and who's gonna run the company then, right? So finding a teammate, finding a co-founder is highly beneficial. I highly recommend it personally. I've done both, individually and with a co-founder. And I think I would choose with a co-founder every single time, regardless of you reducing equity and things like that. There are some cases where outstanding entrepreneurs like Olga can do it alone and are better for it, like she is, but that's quite rare. So try and find a co-founder if you can. There are great programs like Antler and I think cofounder.com, or there are a bunch of resources. I'll link a few down below to find a co-founder. Lastly, if you enjoyed watching this episode, make sure to like it. It really helps us rank higher on YouTube. We're trying to get there step by step. And if you have any feedback about how to make this better, maybe I talked too quickly, I don't know, maybe the setup wasn't right, please let us know because we want to learn and grow as much as anyone. So we really appreciate your feedback. So go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more interviews like this. We've got lots more coming from Barcelona, from Lisbon coming next year, even Paris and a few more then. So please do that if you enjoy it. I'll see you in the next video.